Hello everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of Video Clips. And what I wanted to take some time to do today is to share with you what's happening to real people who are coping with this, not because they or a family member have COVID-19, but because they're part of the collateral damage. So this comes from one of my viewers. I'm a pet sitter and dog walker, and I'm losing about $3,000 a month in business. I live near Microsoft and Amazon headquarters. That's the only thing that may save my area. A handful of my clients are still paying me, but I've lost all business related to travel, overnight stays, and kitty visits. I've taken up grocery shopping and delivery for Instacart to help supplement my income. It pays about half of what my pet sitting business pays, about $20 per hour, which is better than zero. As a self-employed citizen, I'm not eligible for unemployment benefits. However, an exception has been made for this crisis. I have to wait because the Unemployment Security Department is not set up for my people yet. I live in one of the most expensive cities in the country. I'm trying to stay afloat. My credit union has deferred my car payments for 2 months and my business visa payments as well. Here's another writer. I'm so angry. My son was enjoying his junior year of college abroad in London. First, his friends at the university were ordered back one by one to their home states, some states which had higher rates of the virus than in London. I kept telling him to stay because there was more risk, although extremely low, of flying back than staying put. Eventually, within the span of a couple weeks, he was practically the only one left. His school was open, so I told him to stay. Then the school eventually went online, but he was still allowed to stay, and then the school closed, and he was basically kicked out. Now he's home and sits in his room all day except for taking a run or the dog for a walk, which I'm worried will eventually be banned also. I have another son in college, forced to come home, and he sits in his room all day also. I'm more worried about their mental health at this point. They're both well-adjusted, happy social kids, so I hope this doesn't affect them too negatively. I seriously worry that this will trigger some sort of mental instability. These young people should be out living their lives. I also have friends who teach at college, and one in particular mentioned her worry about a student of hers from Haiti who has no internet at home, can't do the courses online, and she's not even sure where he is and hopes he's okay. Now, speaking of education, the New York Times did an article on April 7th reporting what's going on with kids in education. The absence rate of students since being sent home is high. In Los Angeles, 1/3 of all students in the city are not logging on for any classes. And rural communities in Ohio, people don't even have internet access. Educators report that students and parents have dropped out of touch with schools completely and are not available by phone, email, or any other method. The most hard hit are the low-income school districts. The Times writes, quote, "The dramatic split promises to further deepen the typical academic achievement gaps between poor, middle class, and wealthy students." According to Michael Cassidy, executive director of the Council of the Great City Schools, quote, "Unfinished learning will be a serious issue that could have implications for years." Eric Gordon, CEO of Cleveland Metropolitan School District, 30 to 40% of the students in Cleveland do not have access to internet. A teacher there reports that most of her students' parents don't speak English, and she cannot help them because of that. In Minford, Ohio, the district is distributing laptops and work packets to students. Mari Applegate, a school psychologist, reports that regardless of whether or not the students do any of the work or turn in assignments, they're going to be passed on to the next grade since it's not their fault and they cannot be held accountable. And just think about how appalling this is. Yes, they're can't be held accountable, but we already have problems with education in this country, and now we're going to let a whole group of kids just skip a grade level and go on to the next thing. It's just incredible. Now, while we're on the topic of school, I looked this up. Here's some things that qualify for homeschooling right now: grocery shopping, doing laundry, playing, cooking, and crafts. Well, I'll tell you, when we interview people for positions here at Wellness Forum, we're particularly interested in their laundry and playing skills, because if they know how to do laundry and play or grocery shop, they're going to do terrific with customer service or training people in our athletic facility or teaching yoga or whatever else they might. I mean, this is absolutely horrific, just horrific. This qualifies for homeschooling. The mental health toll is unbelievable, and it's getting worse all the time. Robert London is a medical doctor, and he wrote this in Medscape. Quote, "We're in the midst of an epidemic and possibly pandemic of anxiety and distress. The worry that folks have about themselves, families, finances, and work is overwhelming for millions. Consider what this uncertainty is doing to people who have an underlying emotional problem that is well controlled with care or even without care. Those people are suffering even more. Meanwhile, people with conditions like obsessive compulsive disorder that had been under control appear to have worsened with the added stress. Social distancing has disrupted our everyday routines. For many, there's no work, no spending time with people we care about, no going to movies or shows, no discretionary shopping, no school. Parents with children at home report frustration about balancing working from home with competing homeschooling packets. People are bursting into tears and becoming easily frustrated and angry. Add in nightmares, ongoing anxiety states, insomnia, decreased concentration. We're seeing news reports of people stocking up on guns and ammunition in a case of one taking and dying from a non-pharmaceutical drug trying to prevent COVID-19. I see this period of time, my first thoughts are that we're witnessing a national epidemic of trauma. Specifically, what we have here is a clinical picture of PTSD, which is defined clearly as a traumatic disorder with real or perceived fracture with life. Isolation, which we're creating as a way to flatten the curve or slow the spread, is both painful and stressful. Frustration, flashbacks of past life experiences, plus flashbacks of being ill are reported in people I've spoken with. Avoidance, even though it's planned in this instance, is part of the PTSD complex. And so essentially this is what you're seeing. This is what you're not hearing about. Now, I've said this for a long time. If I open up our local newspaper and see one more picture of family living in an upper middle class neighborhood making cookies with their kids and talking about how great it is to reconnect, I think I'm going to blow a gasket. This is not what's going on in real life. What this guy is writing about is going on. Here's an email from a dentist. As a practicing dentist, I'm absolutely shocked and appalled that they've shut down dental practices to only perform emergency treatment. This makes absolutely no sense when my main job is to manage inflammation of the body with hygiene treatments. The mouth is the body's largest open sore that roughly 80% of the population suffers from chronic inflammation in the form of gingivitis or periodontitis. We know what inflammation does to trigger other diseases of the body. I currently have a patient in pain due to severe periodontitis, and I can't treat her because the treatment is deemed elective. This is absolutely not right. They claim they do not want to spread the coronavirus, yet on a daily basis I deal with hundreds of pathogens of the mouth that include HIV, Hep B, influenza, strep, and candida, to name a few. And all of a sudden, you're concerned about the health and welfare of spreading disease with COVID-19. Please. This goes to the point, we have so many members who have surgeries scheduled that are being deemed elective because they're not COVID-19. People with serious conditions, cancer. Early stage cancer surgery right now is considered elective because we have to leave all the hospitals empty for the surge that, at least in states like Ohio and Oklahoma, California, has just never come. And then this from a therapist colleague of mine. I was doing some research this morning on the effect of social isolation, distancing in light of current circumstances. I'm dealing with this coronavirus issue in every single session I have with people right now because of the anxiety and stress it's created. I feel that I've had the opportunity to make an impact and spread some truth, at least in the clients I work with. I've been particularly concerned with the ramifications long-term of what this is doing to people from an emotional mental health perspective. The fear of touch or being in close proximity to other people, the instigation of isolation. In my investigation of research, I came across this article produced by the National Institutes of Health almost exactly a year ago. How ironic is this? And here's what it's called. Social isolation, loneliness, and older people pose health risks. Human beings are social creatures, the NIH writes. Our connection to others enables us to survive and thrive, yet as we age, many of us are alone more often than when we were younger, leaving us vulnerable to social isolation and loneliness and related health problems such as cognitive decline, depression, and heart disease. Fortunately, there are ways to counter these negative effects. Research has linked social isolation and loneliness to higher risks for a variety of physical and mental conditions like high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, a weakened immune system, anxiety, depression, cognitive decline, Alzheimer's disease, and even death. People who find themselves alone unexpectedly due to the death of a spouse or partner, separation from friends or family, retirement, loss of mobility, and lack of transportation are at particular risk. Loneliness may alter the tendency of cells in the immune system to promote inflammation, which is necessary to help our bodies heal from injury. Loneliness acts as a fertilizer for other diseases. The biology of loneliness can accelerate the buildup of plaque in arteries, help cancer cells grow and spread, and promote inflammation in the brain, leading to Alzheimer's disease. Loneliness promotes several different types of wear and tear on the body. The article is longer than that, but that's an excerpt. And so I said in an earlier video clip, there are risks and benefits associated with any decision that you make. And the risks and benefits of the decisions that have been made here have not been carefully evaluated. And I was speaking with a police officer earlier today, And we were talking about the fact that it's the calm before the storm, because as people become increasingly desperate, you know, people have been without paychecks and food, and nobody's gotten a check from the government yet. And I don't really know what universe anybody lives in thinking that $1,200 from the government is going to take care of your expenses for the past 2 months while this is going on and into the future, because nobody knows when the restrictions are going to be lifted. And so when these people get hungry enough and when they get desperate enough, we're going to see violence like we've never seen before. I have a couple of friends who live in transitional neighborhoods. They've moved out of their neighborhoods and in with friends or family because it's dangerous there right now. This is where there are a lot of people on the edge financially. I have a friend who owns 2 pawn shops in town, which are designated as essential businesses because they loan money. They have been in the money loaning business, yes, but what they've also been doing is selling a lot of guns and ammunition. And so this is not good. This is not good. And I think that we really have to start asking ourselves, have we reached that point where the cure is worse than the disease? And I've said for a long time we were careening in that direction, and I think we're here. So I'm hoping that our public officials and our health officials are going to start looking at this a little bit differently, a little bit more responsibly, taking into consideration that no matter what they do, there's risk, but how many millions of people, tens of millions of people, are you going to continue to punish to the place where they can't ever recover in the process of doing what you're doing? So that's all for now. Couple things to keep in mind if you are interested in getting our newsletter, because a lot of the reference material for what I put out this week is in there. Send me an email. Careers, send me an email. Taking advantage of free trial membership, send me an email. And I will do my best, once again, to answer questions in this format. I just can't send individual email responses to hundreds of people every day. I wish I could, but I can't. And don't forget, next week is our mini vaccine workshop, which is affordable for everybody. Thanks for watching. My new thing is stay safe, of course, and stay sane. We're all just trying to stay sane in the middle of this mess and hope that it will pass soon. Thank you for watching.